My mother kicked me out to teach me a lesson. I ended up marrying wealthy instead. You're listening to Mr. Redder. As soon as I turned 18, my mom kicked me out. No warning, no conversation, just said it was time for me to learn how the real world worked. She believed struggling was a rite of passage and that I needed to suffer like she did to build character. So I found myself homeless with about 400 quid to my name. No plan, no place to go. I spent the first few weeks bouncing between friends' couches, trying to keep it together. It was rough, but I managed to get a job at a fast food place pretty quickly. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me just enough to scrape together the rent for a room in a shared flat. That was the first time I felt like I had a bit of stability. I'd always done well in school. I was the type who genuinely enjoyed studying, I loved books, and I could lose myself in learning. So I made the decision to apply for university and take out a student loan. I figured it was my best shot at breaking out of the cycle that I was in. For some reason, I still kept in touch with my mom back then. Maybe I thought she'd come around or be proud of me, but she wasn't. Every time I told her about my plans for uni or anything remotely hopeful, she'd lash out at me. I still remember this one time she emailed me at 3 in the morning, ranting about how going to an open day was pointless because university was full of rich people who would never accept someone like me. That email stuck with me, not because I believed her, but because it was the moment I realized she was never going to support me. So I stopped telling her anything about my life. I went to university anyway. That decision changed everything. That's where I met my partner. At first, I had no idea that they came from money. They weren't flashy about it at all. They lived in a shared house just like the rest of us, bought groceries from the discount aisle, and never made anyone feel beneath them. We bonded over mutual interests, late-night study sessions, and a shared sense of humor. It wasn't until years later, when we were talking about getting married, that I found out just how wealthy their family actually was. By that point, it didn't matter. I loved them for who they were, not what they had. I never told my mom about our marriage. She passed away a couple of years ago, still thinking I was some naive, brainwashed liberal with a worthless degree. It's funny, really. She had a degree herself and worked in finance, but still saw higher education as some kind of scam. What she never understood was that going to university gave me the tools I needed to build a future. No, I'm not a stay-at-home wife sipping matcha or stretching on a yoga mat all day. I've got a PhD now, and I work full-time for our country's public health department. My work makes a difference. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of how far I've come, of the life I've carved out with no support and no safety net. I love my partner more than I can explain. We have a strong, loving relationship built on respect and shared values. I'm grateful every day for the life we built together, and I'm proud of myself for not letting the bitterness and negativity that I grew up with define who I become. Wow, I think that was one of the best stories we've ever read. Let that be a message to our viewers. Your life, your happiness, is not dependent on what anyone else thinks of you. And if they don't show you the unconditional love that you deserve, then you're not obligated to keep them in your life. What do we have next, Reddit boy? I'm feeling feisty today. Am I the jerk for telling my wife that I'm ending our marriage because I found her brother at our house? Again? I'm 38, male. I left my wife today. Kelly, she's 38. We were together for 5 years, married for 4. It wasn't an impulsive decision. This has been building up for a long time. The biggest issue between us was always her family. They were overly involved in every part of her life, and she refused to set boundaries with them, no matter how badly it was affecting our marriage. I get that they're close, I really do, but she never seemed to grasp how toxic their closeness was when it came to our relationship. Over the last couple of years, I went through just about every just no family scenario that you can think of. Her family ate food that I bought without asking. They showed up at random hours, constantly interfered in things that didn't concern them. It felt like I was living in a house that wasn't even mine. Then, 9 months ago, things got worse. Her parents started divorce proceedings. Her dad had been cheating for over a decade and decided he was ready to marry his longtime mistress. In the process, he kicked everyone else out of the house. It was chaotic, and I'll admit, in the moment, it felt like an emergency. So I agreed to help. That's the decision that I regret the most. Suddenly, we had 4 extra people living with us, and they didn't even try to be considerate. I'd find them using our private bathroom even though they had full access to the guest bathroom in the hallway. Her sister started taking naps in our bed. That one crossed a line for me. A bed is personal, it's an intimate place, and yet I came home one night to find her passed out in it, and we had to wake her up just so I could lie down. She was groggy and took her sweet time leaving. It was weird. That went on for 3 months, and even after they moved out, the problems didn't stop. I talked to my wife about it so many times, begged her to set some boundaries. She said she'd handle it, but they still kept showing up unannounced. Even if I didn't see them, I'd know from little things that they'd been over. Snacks missing, my recliner shifted. That dang recliner cost me a fortune, and they'd just plop on it like they owned the place. I had a mini orchard in the backyard, and they picked every single fruit off of the trees without asking. It all built up. I snapped during one of their visits. I yelled in front of them, which I normally avoid, but I just couldn't hold it in anymore. They left, and Kelly and I had a huge fight. I ended up staying at a hotel that night. After that, I told her I was at my limit, that I needed her to back me up and stop letting them disrespect our space. She accused me of trying to make her choose between me and her family, which wasn't fair. I wasn't asking her to abandon them. I just wanted her to protect our marriage. Then today happened. I got home from work and I found her brother's car parked directly in front of our house. Not in the driveway, not off to the side, right in the middle like he owned the whole dang place. The only way I could have gotten through would have been by driving over the lawn. I was already upset, but when I walked in and saw him stretched out on our couch, shoes still on, looking smug, something in me just snapped. He gave me that look, like he thought I wouldn't do anything, like I was just a guest in my own house again. So I didn't say a word. I walked straight into the bedroom and started packing. Clothes, personal stuff, everything I could carry. Kelly saw what I was doing and started begging me to stop, to talk to her. But I'd already said everything I needed to say. There was nothing left to talk about. I ignored her and walked out. She called me right after I left. She was crying, panicked, asking if I was really done. I told her yes, that my decision was final. And when she kept pushing, I told her the truth. That right now, I despise her. That I couldn't even imagine sleeping next to her again. I haven't heard from any of the lawyers I reached out to yet, but I'm waiting. We don't have kids, so it shouldn't be too messy, but there are still a lot of things that'll be left undone. I did love her, deeply, but love can't fix everything. It can't survive being trampled on over and over by people who don't respect you, or by a partner who refuses to stand by you when it matters the most. I keep wondering if I went too far, if I should have waited until her brother left before walking out. Maybe I could have handled it differently. But honestly, I'm just exhausted, angry, hurt, and I don't think anything I could have said would have changed what I already knew. This marriage was over the moment she chose her family's comfort over mine, again and again. Not much to say, OP, not the jerk. You stated all the facts. She knew, her family knew. That is no way for you to have to exist in your own home. I'm glad you left. As your wife and partner, she should work with you instead of against you. She's enabling her family to treat you poorly. Let them remain a close-knit family and move on to a healthier life. You deserve it, not the jerk. This is right. A lot of the time, tight-knit families can disrespect the partner out of jealousy, and the brother's behavior is patronizing you in your own home. You deserve better. We've read so many stories about divorce, but every one of them has lessons to learn, doesn't it? Truly giving yourself to your spouse, walking together so that you are one. It's one of the most beautiful things in the world. And when you walk together in a oneness like that, nothing can break you apart. Employees are not allowed to leave the break room on their break? Whatever. This happened a few years ago when I was working at McDonald's. The location I was at was sandwiched between a bunch of schools, so most of our crew were high schoolers. It was actually kind of fun at times, but as soon as summer break hit, things got messy. We started running into this problem where employees would go on break, grab their food, and instead of heading back to the break room, they'd hang out around the kitchen chatting with their friends who were still working. It didn't take long before productivity started dipping, and it became a bit of a health concern too. There were people eating next to raw products or standing in spots meant for food prep. So our manager finally stepped in and made a new rule. If you were on your break, you had to stay in the break room. No wandering around, no standing in the kitchen, no chatting up your buddies in the line. You sit in the break room until your timer runs out. Simple enough, and honestly, it worked fine for the summer. But once school started up again, we ran into a different issue. With way fewer people available during the school day, break cycles became a nightmare. We were short-staffed during peak hours, and as soon as a couple people went on break, ticket times would shoot through the roof. Management decided to relax the rule a bit. If there was a rush and you were willing, you could come off break early, clock back in, and help out. That system worked for a while, but then the district manager got wind of it. They weren't happy. Apparently, corporate had rules about how breaks needed to be taken fully to avoid labor issues. So, the DM cracked down hard. The rule came back in full force, and this time it was worse. Not only were you required to stay in the break room during your break, but now if you clocked in early or helped out in any way during your break, you could be written up or even fired. Fast forward to April 20th. If you've ever worked in fast food, you know that's not the day you want to be on a shift. People come in very hungry, ready to order enough food to feed a small army. From the moment we opened, we were slammed. I mean non-stop rushes, barely enough time to breathe. We even had to call in employees from other stores. Regional and district managers were in the store too, walking around, acting like they were helping out, but mostly just watching us work. Despite the chaos, we were actually holding it down pretty well. Ticket times were staying under 2 minutes, and everything was in a decent mood. A few employees had cycled through their breaks, and we were still holding steady. Then it was my turn to go on break. I grabbed my food, headed to the break room, and plopped down in one of the chairs. I was mid-scroll through my phone, halfway into a double cheeseburger, when someone came into the store and placed an order for 47 double quarter pounders. To make it worse, this was right after the chain had rolled out the fresh beef initiative. So every quarter pounder had to be made fresh to order. That alone would have caused some panic. But right after that, the drive-thru gets hit with a second order. 75 20-piece nugget meals. Not just 75 nuggets, 75 meals. The kitchen just lost it. You could hear the stress from the break room. People were yelling. Someone dropped a tray, and the fry timer wouldn't stop beeping. I stayed right where I was, finishing my burger, sipping my drink, and pretending like I couldn't hear the chaos unfolding. Then, like clockwork, the district manager storms into the break room. His face was flushed, and he looked like he hadn't expected things to spiral that fast. He barked at me to get off break and help out on the grill. I didn't even flinch. I looked up and said, "Sorry, but by your own rule, I'd be risking a write-up or a termination if I did that. So, no can do." He sputtered for a second, clearly didn't have a comeback. I went right back to my phone. 10 more minutes of break left. I wasn't giving that up. A couple minutes later, the regional manager walked in. He wasn't nearly as polite. Told me if I didn't get off my butt and help, I'd be terminated on the spot. Still, I didn't budge. I repeated the same thing. If I do that, I'm breaking the rule that you put in place. You'd be writing me up or firing me either way, so I'll just finish my break. Another employee was on break with me. She looked pretty nervous, and after a bit of back and forth, she caved. She clocked in early and jumped on the line to help. After the rush, she got written up. Exactly what I said would happen. Meanwhile, the kitchen kept drowning. The massive orders took forever. The people who placed them ended up waiting about 30 minutes, took whatever food was ready, demanded refunds for the rest, and left. Both of them walked out with close to $150 in refunded food. Other customers with regular-sized orders got gift cards as an apology, but a lot of them just walked out empty-handed. In total, we gave away nearly $1,500 in gift cards that night. Because of all the food that went unclaimed and the failed attempts to prep in bulk, we ended up with around $5,000 in food waste. Every closer went home with at least 2 bundle boxes full of burgers, nuggets, and fries. After that disaster, the regional and district managers were quietly moved to a different region. The rule about breaks got rewritten again. Now, if it's busy and a manager approves it, you're allowed to clock back in early. As for me, because I was the only one who stood my ground and refused to break the rule, I got rewarded. Free meals and drinks anytime I worked. Even after I moved away from my hometown, whenever I come back to visit, some of the employees who remembered me would still hook me up with a manager discount. Am I the jerk for calling the cops on my brother after he stole from me? I'm 19, female, and my brother, who's 17, we've never really gotten along. He's always been kind of reckless, but lately he's been getting worse. Sneaking out, lying, and now stealing. A few days ago, I noticed some money missing from my room. I don't keep a ton of cash, but I had about $300 saved up for something important. Gone. At first, I thought I misplaced it, but then I checked my brother's room. and guess what? Found some of my bills crumpled up in his drawer. I confronted him, and he straight up denied it. Even when I showed him the money, he said he found it outside. Like, bro, be serious. I told my parents, expecting them to back me up, but they brushed it off like, he's just a kid, he probably needs it for something. That upset me, so I told my parents either he gives it back or I call the cops. They didn't take me seriously, so I actually did it. Not to get him arrested or anything, just to scare him. The cops came, talked to him, and made him give me the money back. They didn't charge him, just gave him a warning. Now my family is mad at me, saying I took it too far and I should have just let my parents handle it. But they weren't doing anything, and I'm tired of him getting away with stuff. Am I the jerk for calling the cops on my own brother? It's wild how I'm the bad guy for expecting basic respect and not wanting my money to mysteriously disappear. I guess accountability is optional in this family. Not the jerk. Sometimes tough love is the only way to make someone wake up. You didn't ruin his life, you might have just saved it. You did give your parents an opportunity to handle it. They chose not to, so they can't really justify complaining that you turned elsewhere to handle it. Not the jerk. Your brother stole from you, and your parents refused to do anything about it. If they had handled it properly, you wouldn't have had to call the cops. You didn't press charges, you just made sure he faced some consequences. Hopefully, this will teach him a lesson before it escalates to worse things. Update the next day. So things have been really awkward at home. My parents are still acting like I'm the villain, and my brother has been giving me the silent treatment, which honestly isn't the worst thing in the world. But here's where it gets interesting. Turns out, I wasn't the one who he was stealing from. A few days after everything went down, my mom pulled me aside and admitted that some of her money had gone missing too. She thought she had just misplaced it, but now she's realizing it was probably him. I didn't say I told you so, even though I really wanted to, but I just gave her a look and was like, yeah, exactly. Now my parents are finally taking it seriously. But instead of being mad at him, they're talking about how he's just going through a phase and how they don't want to be too hard on him. Meanwhile, he's still stomping around the house, acting like I ruined his life. At this point, I've just distanced myself completely. I'm keeping my door locked, not leaving anything valuable around, and honestly counting down the days until I can move out. Didn't expect this to get so much attention, but I really appreciate all the comments. Do I feel bad? No. Do I regret it? Still no. If no one else is going to hold him accountable, at least now he knows I will. Good for you for standing your ground. Unaddressed phases become ways of life. He doesn't know it, but you're the only one actually interested in helping your brother. Tell your parents that if they refuse to teach him accountability themselves, the penal system will be doing that job for them in a few years. People need to stop acting like teenagers are just kids, as if they simply don't know any better and can't help it. Yes, they're still technically not adults, but that doesn't mean they can do whatever they want without consequences. They're old enough to know better. 10 is old enough to know better most of the time. I'm just so sick of these enabling parents. Update 2, 3 days later. So things have escalated a bit since my last update. My parents finally started taking things more seriously, but not in the way I expected. Instead of actually holding my brother accountable, they're now in full-on damage control mode, acting like this whole thing is just a family issue that got blown out of proportion. A few days ago, my dad sat me down and basically told me that I need to let this go because my brother is apparently really struggling, and I made things worse by involving the cops. He said my brother feels like I betrayed him and that I should be the bigger person and try to fix things. Meanwhile, my brother? Yeah, no. He hasn't apologized, hasn't even acknowledged what he did. He's just sulking around the house, acting like I ruined his life. And now he's trying to turn things on me, telling family members that I overreacted and made things way worse than they actually were. I've completely checked out at this point. My parents are clearly more worried about keeping the peace than actually teaching them consequences, and I'm just tired of it. I'm looking at moving out sooner than I planned because honestly, I don't feel like being in a house where my own stuff isn't safe and I'm the bad guy for expecting basic respect. They're saying keep it in the family, right? I'm not seeing any specifications of immediate family. Maybe talk to some extended family and have them give their opinions as well. Update 3, 4 days later. So I ended up having another conversation with my parents, mostly because I couldn't keep walking around the house with this giant cloud over everything. I told them again that I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life. I just want to live in a home where my stuff doesn't get touched and I'm not made out to be the problem for setting a boundary. My mom kind of softened a bit and admitted they might have been too quick to defend him, but she also said they're just scared of pushing him further away. I get that, I really do, but I told her protecting him doesn't mean ignoring the things he's doing. My brother still hasn't apologized directly, but he did stop talking crap about me to the rest of the family. I think someone, maybe my aunt, told him that he was being immature and making it worse for himself. Since then, things have been quieter. Not better, just less tense. I've started looking at part-time jobs and roommate listings so I can move out sooner. I don't hate my own family. I'm just tired of being treated like I'm the one who crossed a line for wanting basic trust and honesty in my own home. I'm 27 male. My girlfriend, who's 26, of 4 years, rejected my proposal. Am I the jerk for breaking up with her? I was in a relationship with my girlfriend for 4 years. We really loved each other. My family loved her, and her family loved me. We had discussions of marriage. We made plans for the future, how many kids we wanted to have. My girlfriend was always extremely excited about it. Over the last few months, I was giving her consistent hints that I was going to propose to her, and last weekend, I booked a nice resort where I would plan to propose to her at a private place. Well, when I did propose to her, she somehow seemed shocked about it and asked if she could have a few more months. That just completely stunned me and was one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. My girlfriend kept apologizing, saying she just needed to be in the right mental space and that right then she wasn't. She cried and promised me that we were technically engaged. She just needed a few more months to officially accept the proposal. I felt empty, sad, and embarrassed. I felt horrible. When we returned back to our apartment, she was apologizing a lot, and there was a lot of crying also. The whole situation for me was so heartbreaking and embarrassing that I could not talk about it with any of my friends or even my parents. I could only consult my siblings. My siblings had completely contrasting opinions. My brother told me that maybe she got cold feet, and a lot of people get cold feet, and to just give her time because she seemed like a genuine person. However, my sister told me what my girlfriend did was girl code for cheating, and that my girlfriend was probably ashamed about accepting my proposal, given that she most likely was having an affair. My sister told me that my girlfriend would probably call off the affair in the next couple of months, after which she would be comfortable accepting the proposal. Completely contrasting opinions, but I sided with my sister because my brother gets a bit naive at times. The more I thought about it, the more what my sister said made logical sense, and that just shattered my heart even more. So a couple of days ago, after my girlfriend came home from work, I told her we were done and that she had a couple of hours to pack up and leave. I gave her no heads up about it. I gave her no reasons. She was shocked and was talking a lot, asking why, but at this point, I just didn't trust her anymore. She obviously cried, but I was over it. A couple hours later, her friend came to pick her up, and I blocked her number so I didn't get any more text messages. I'm still suffering a lot, and it will take time for me to heal through this. Am I the jerk? Update. I'm still replaying my entire relationship over and over in my head. I'm still replaying that day. I loved her so much. I put my heart and soul into this relationship. I confided in her my childhood issues because I felt so connected to her, and I thought we were soulmates. We had made plans on life after marriage, which state we ultimately wanted to settle in. We discussed finances, how many kids we wanted to have, what our life would be like 10, 20, 30 years from now. We discussed so much. We discussed engagement rings. She even told me what kind of ring she wanted. Months leading up to our resort vacation, I gave her so many hints, like saying this would be our best vacation ever, and that our 4-year anniversary would be extremely special. I had planned the entire vacation around our 4-year anniversary and planned to propose to her on that day. I started saving up money because I wanted that whole vacation, and especially that day, to be memorable. Even she seemed super excited about the trip, and we were so excited about how much fun we would have. After I was rejected, I just did not understand what happened. I was completely shattered. I thought I had set it up so beautifully. The entire day was amazing. The entire vacation was amazing. I thought that she would be overjoyed with the proposal, especially after seeing the ring. I had never felt so hurt in all of my life. She had never given any indication that she didn't want to marry me, and I just couldn't understand her explanation for why she rejected me. I just could not understand why she needed a few more months because all I asked her was if she wanted to marry me. I didn't set a specific timeline on when to marry. I could barely speak to her anymore because I felt like my heart had been ripped out. It also hurt me that she was crying a lot and apologizing even when we came back home. I still loved her then, but I was deeply hurt. After speaking with my sister, I finally started to make sense of it, even though I did not want to believe it. The affair was the only possible reason for why she would not accept my proposal now, but accept it months later. She sometimes used to work late after hours, and I never questioned it because I trusted her. All the late night work hours, all those friend trips, the truth was right in front of my eyes, but I was blinded by love. How could she do this to me? I shared my deepest feelings with her. I made myself vulnerable to her, and she just completely crushed it. What other choice did I have but to kick her out? She ripped out my soul, and I still did not hate her. I had no feelings left for hate. I was just too distraught. How did it matter to me whether she was homeless or not? I really didn't care what she did with her life anymore. I just did not want to be in the same room as her anymore. My sister is going to come over next weekend to spiritually cleanse out all of the bad energy of my house using sage. I haven't told anyone about her affair because I don't want to tarnish her reputation. Her sister texted me a couple of hours after I kicked her out, and I told her that we had a massive falling out and that we were officially done. I told her to respect my privacy and never contact me again. My parents are also saddened by the entire thing, but they're respecting my privacy and not asking me too many questions. I don't know how I can ever trust anyone again after this. I'm really thankful for my family's support. I don't know how I would have even endured this nightmare without them. Laughing out loud, what did I just read? I have never heard of that being girl code for cheating. Maybe it's just your sister's code for cheating. I would definitely try to discuss the reasons for her uncertainty with her. OP's sister is projecting hard. Or the sister really hates OP or the girlfriend. She sounds super manipulative. Ding ding ding. She hates the girlfriend, decides to break them up, and brother is too dumb to question it. Info. How long has your sister hated your girlfriend? And how many times did they have little spats? You can break up for whatever reason you want. Her rejecting your proposal is a valid one if that's what you want. At the same time, you assuming she's cheating off that is absurd, and I would have personally given her a little while to consider. You're not the jerk for breaking up with her. You can break up for any reason. But honestly, she dodged a bullet. You just assuming she's cheating with no evidence is wild. This was a woman you were ready to marry. Then because your sister said something crazy, you throw her out without giving her time to find somewhere to stay? You're the jerk. Not the jerk. I'm not sure about your ex cheating, but something happened or is happening. You don't go from being excited about something to saying you need a few more months for no reason. Exactly. I think the sister might actually know something. Women can tell when something is going on with other women, in that sort of way. If the sister knew her, it sounds like she does, then she likely knew something almost for sure. My first thought before reading it was the same as your sister. She's cheating or is entangled with someone somehow and doesn't want them to know about you or the engagement until she ends it with them. Seriously, what would change in the next few months? Basically engaged. Either you are or you're not. Her crying equals guilt. Not the jerk, and go with your gut. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for how he reacted or not? Please let us know. Karen's sister-in-law loses it on me for canceling my Netflix without telling her. Me, 41 female, and my husband, 42 male, subscribed to Netflix 7 years ago when our daughter, who's 18, asked us to. We were in a difficult financial situation at the time, but said we'd give it some thought. We caved. However, only on the condition that she spends one night a week watching it with us. 2 years after, my brother, who's 34, married his wife, who's 36. She was married previously and has twin daughters, who are 10. I love them to pieces. Sister-in-law then gave birth to their son, and all heck broke loose. My nieces were constantly dropped off at either our house or their maternal grandparents' house. There wasn't a word of warning. They were just dropped off and picked up the next day to be deposited somewhere else. I told my brother that we had to talk after a month of this. He texted me back a week later and asked for my Netflix login. He said they needed for bonding time. I should have called BS, but he's my brother and I didn't want to refuse him. Recently, my nieces and I were at the park with our youngest daughter, who's 11. One of my nieces asked to sit with me. She asked why they don't visit often anymore. I say that she should be happy spending time with her parents. She admits that they are left to watch Netflix while sister-in-law and brother spend time with the baby. When I got home, I told my husband. He was beyond furious. shaming my brother for being a bad father. His words, biological or not. I couldn't disagree. It was me who had the idea to unsubscribe altogether, and this went beyond teaching them a lesson. We never really used it anymore. My eldest complains that they're apparently going to ban account sharing. This would be a bad thing because she's across the country in college and is the only person who somewhat actively uses it alongside sister-in-law. My husband admitted that the money for the subscription could, and probably should, go towards more useful things. We let our subscription expire, and my sister-in-law soon came knocking. She went off on us for canceling, that it wasn't our call to make since they use the account too, yada yada yada. Here's where I think I might be the jerk. I shut the door in her face and said that she needs to seriously self-reflect. She scoffed and left. Ever since, I haven't seen them. Sister-in-law has gone radio silent, and my brother speaks to me through our parents. This not only upsets me, but my kids too, particularly my son who's 15. My brother promised to take him to a sport event this week, but has since canceled. Deep down, I know that I did the right thing. However, I frankly feel like crap seeing how miserable my kids are. Not only that, but my niece's relationship with him and sister-in-law is totally unsalvageable, according to my brother, in a Facebook post blaming me and my husband for his now difficult family life, which has led to a few nasty comments. I'm wondering if I should have just remained complicit. I'm tempted to resubscribe just for the sake of making things a little more peaceful, as per an ultimatum my sister-in-law and brother wagered. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. I honestly don't even need to read this story to tell you you're not the jerk. Why should you have to warn someone who's mooching off you that you're going to cancel your subscription? She wants Netflix, she can pay for her own subscription. Your appointment is now canceled. 2 years ago, I was given a new-to-me phone number when I purchased a cell phone. Immediately, I was bombarded by friends, family, and collection agents of the previous owner of the number, not the phone. They were all looking for the same woman by her name. First couple of months, I answered that that person must have changed their number, that I just got this number with a new phone, no harm, no foul. But it hasn't stopped, and I found out why. She's still giving out this number. One day, she logged into her coffee app, and it sent this phone the sign-up code. I bounced to it and logged in with the code. The account had her email address. Finally, I can let her know what's going on, and hopefully this will stop. I used that info to contact her. I told her I'm sure she didn't mean any harm, but it's become ridiculous. Please stop giving out this number. She replied that I'm some kind of a stalker. I replied that if she continues to give out my number, I will cancel every appointment that comes across and tell her family that something happened to her and tell creditors where to find her. She blocked my email. I figured all is well if she stops, but she didn't. Okay, bet. A month ago, her application for a school was canceled. Today, her dental appointment for Thursday was canceled. Stop sending your crap to my number. I plan to finally change this number when I get a personal issue resolved, but honestly, I'm low-key enjoying this, and she's still giving out the number, so… Edit. So I had someone warning me that I was going to go to federal prison for 25 years for this. Guys, I'm only reacting to her actions. It is easily provable with the emails I have and the dates that she continues to give out this number that she is the harasser. If she goes to a new doctor and gives this number, that's harassment to me. Writing a C to reply to a text is not a federal crime. I'm 37 female. My daughter, who's 19, is pregnant again. I have 2 kids, my daughter who's 19 and my son who's 11. I had my daughter when I was 17. My parents were very strict and they made me a pretty sneaky kid. As my daughter grew up, I decided to have a different approach to raising her. Instead of shaming her and trying to shun her from everything, I talked to her and encouraged her to be open with me about whatever was going on. I knew she had a boyfriend, so we went to go put her on birth control. Turns out she was already 7 weeks pregnant. I know my feeling upset about it sounds hypocritical, but I just didn't want her to go through what I went through. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but being a mom is hard enough as it already is. I wanted her to not have it, but she changed her mind when she saw the sonogram. Now my granddaughter is 1.5 and I love her. I was not ecstatic about becoming a grandmother in my mid-30s, and I still don't love the fact that I did, but what happened has happened. When my granddaughter was 1 month old, my daughter's boyfriend moved in with us. His living with us is a story in itself, but it's been over a year of my daughter telling me that they're going to find a place and all this other stuff. those two are very tiring at times. They used to fight a lot. It seems like either they've gotten to a better place or they've just left me out of their drama as I asked them to. I've come around to the fact that she had a kid at such a young age and thought she'd sort of make the best out of the situation. Nope. She told me Friday night that she was pregnant again. And why I'm here is not to rant, but to simply ask, how do I proceed with her news? I want to ask her to go to their own place. In other words, kick them out. But I want to know, is this too harsh of a suggestion? Tell her, I can't afford to continue to support you, your kids, and your boyfriend. There isn't enough space to accommodate everyone. It's time for you to get your own place. You have until June 1st. I'm happy to babysit or assist however while you look for a place. I think rather than immediately kicking them out, give them a timeline to get their stuff together. It's less harsh, but still sets the expectation that if they're going to participate in adult behaviors, they will be required to fulfill adult expectations. I would remind her that she's 19 and is responsible fully for her kids and her life. She shouldn't be expecting that anyone else is going to foot the bills and raise those kids. It's on her and her baby daddy at the end of the day. Outline your perspective and expectations for both of them because they're adults and have taken very big steps very quickly. I don't think you should kick them out, but make it clear that you have every right to kick them out if they choose to be irresponsible. Not to be rude, but you're kind of a doormat. They're 19 and 21. They are adults. The father is in the picture too. They need a hard timeline for moving out. It's not kicking them out to expect adult kids to be adults. I think your own parents' lack of support is clouding your judgment here. You've been supportive and understanding. You haven't failed your daughter. Advice. I'd sit them both down and ask them their plan and express your expectations. They're adults and about to be parents of 2. They need to create a plan. Give them advice and help where they need it, but have strict timelines. They've had 2 years already. They need a push. Cutting the cord and making them fly from the nest is part of your job as a parent. Is it unfair that my dad told me I had to pay rent or move out at 18, but didn't tell my brothers the same thing? I, 17 male, made this account because I think my dad is being unfair despite everyone I asked telling me he's not. I talked to my family about it for support and they were unsupportive and actually called me ungrateful. I turn 18 April 21st and my dad told me that he wants me to start paying rent after I turn 18 or I'll have to move out. This made me upset because both of my brothers weren't forced to move out or had to pay rent when they turned 18. My oldest brother, who's 25, only moved out 2 years ago, and my other brother, who's 22, still lives with us. I told him this, and he told me that he knows and he made a mistake when raising them, and he wasn't going to make the same one with me. I asked my dad if he was saying this to my brother, who's 22, and he told me that he wasn't because he was unemployed, and if he were to kick him out, he'll be homeless. I asked my dad why he cares about him not being homeless but is ready to make me homeless. He told me that he'll help me find an apartment and will co-sign the lease if I choose to move out. I asked my dad why he wouldn't just do this for my brother instead, but he told me that he doesn't trust him, which just upset me even more. I feel like I'm getting punished for being well behaved. I explained this to my dad and told him that if he would have parented better, he wouldn't have to force all of his regrets on me. My dad got upset with me and told me that I was being unfair and that I know how hard he tried to raise all of us and I can't fault him for everything when he tried his best. I tried to call my family to try and have them convince my dad that he was the one being unfair, but they told me that I should be grateful my dad cares about me and that they agree with him. They told me his only fault is letting my 22-year-old brother and 25-year-old brother stay as long as they did, and they are glad he wasn't gonna enable me. I did nothing wrong. I genuinely feel like I'm getting punished for my brother's actions, and I don't find that fair at all. I understand that the father is trying to help, but not asking the 22-year-old to get a job to help or to move out, but forcing your 17-year-old to pay rent or move out is not fair. They should all be treated the same. The 22-year-old should not be coddled. The situation with the 22-year-old is his fault, and he's trying to make an example out of the 17-year-old. I can understand if OP was a spoiled brat, but OP has been working for 2 years. The father could have at least allowed OP to save up for a year or two before moving out. So the father allows the 22-year-old to remain jobless, live rent-free, but your kid that has been working for 2 years, got a scholarship, and has been a good kid gets punished? You guys don't see it as punishment, but my friend went through the same situation and it was super rough for him. He was literally homeless on holidays. Thank goodness my parents allowed him to come stay with us. His family continued to coddle the 25-year-old son that has been living rent-free for years with no consequences. I agree with this. There's nothing wrong with pushing your kids to become independent, but you have to be consistent. It's unfair, and it's an easy way to brew resentment between your kids. Few things hurt sibling relationships more than skewed treatment. Okay, buddy, let's work through some things. What is your plan for next school year? Are you planning to go to college? If not, can you go to college? If you have not yet applied, check to see which universities in your state have rolling admissions. Apply and apply for student housing with a room rate. Then, once you have all that secured, negotiate with your dad to be able to stay through the summer. Tell him the dates that you'll move out. If his issue is that he doesn't want you living there indefinitely, this would give a hard move-out date. Tell him that you would need a place to stay during Thanksgiving break, winter break, and next summer unless you can get housing next summer at the university, but this would get you well on your way. My guess is if you present a well-thought-out plan with dates, he'll be more open to you staying for a few more months. I'm with you on this one. I think if he wants rent, that's fine, but if he's going to do this with you, it needs to be the same for the 22-year-old. I honestly don't understand the American tradition of kicking your kids out at 18. I don't understand how these parents can expect any kind of close relationship with their kid afterwards. Not the jerk. This would be horrible even without the context about unequal treatment. It's a leftover expectation from a time when housing was easily affordable. Also, this sub seems to hyper-focus on legal obligation as the sole determining factor of being a jerk or not. So you will have plenty of people seeing nothing wrong with what OP's father is doing in theory. They'll just criticize his uneven application in practice. I just got an email on my husband's iPad about his apartment, but we own our own house. My husband is on a trip with one of our sons and his brother to go visit their mother, my son's grandmother. I was cleaning up the den when an email notification popped up on his iPad. It was an email from an apartment complex that they were going to be temporarily closing down the hot water for repairs, sent from one of those automatic senders that you can't reply to. It was addressed to my husband with his first and last name. The thing is, we own our house. We haven't rented in over 10 years, and even then, it wasn't this place. Where my husband is, upstate New York, there isn't any service. I tried to send him a picture of the email, but it won't go through. I called him and spoke to him for a bit. Service was choppy, but I managed to explain to him about the email, and basically all he said is that it must be a mistake and they had the wrong email. We weren't able to say much more before the call dropped, but if it was a wrong email, how would they have his first and last name spelled correctly? For context, his first name is somewhat common, but our last name isn't common, especially in this area. There weren't any other emails from this sender or about this apartment complex in my husband's email, but he is also the kind who clears out his inbox as he gets messages. I sent a message to the apartment complex telling them that I think my husband was on their email list by mistake, but I just got an automatic email sent back that they were out of the office until the 20th with the general rent information pricing, 1 bedroom for $1,600, 2 bedroom for $1,900, and that there were no available units. There was no unit number on the email, but the complex is about 15 minutes away from our house, so I went and I drove by, which I guess might sound a little crazy, I know. I didn't see anything, not like I knew what to expect. It's a group of buildings, less than 100 apartments in all. I don't have any reason to mistrust my husband other than this weird email that gives me a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach, as well as a general feeling of paranoia that he's just been bored with me. I've been feeling this way for a little while, but he insists I'm imagining it and that he's happy. I only brought it up to him once when I was feeling particularly insecure last year. We still do fun things together, he still tells me he loves me, etc. I just feel like he doesn't have as much fun with me as he used to, and he looks for reasons to be out of the house or doing things specifically with the boys instead of doing things with the whole family. It's not like it's something that bothers me every day, just something that I think about when I'm feeling insecure or paranoid. Like in a situation like this, where he gets an email from random apartment complexes. Anyway, I don't know exactly what advice I'm looking for. I know the advice I would have for one of my friends would be to just talk to him, but I really can't do that until he comes home on Saturday, which is a really long time for me to sit with my intrusive thoughts. Edit. He never lived here in the past. He lived with his parents until college, and then lived in a dorm, and then every place he rented was with me. We've been dating since we were 19. Edit 2. The email wasn't a phishing scam. It was a legitimate email from the email address on the apartment complex's website. All of the information included in the email letterhead matched the information on the apartment complex website. And if it was a phishing scam, I assumed they would have been looking for information. This email wasn't looking for anything, it was just an informational email about the water. Update. My best friend called the emergency maintenance number and said that she was a delivery driver who had $100 worth of food for, and said my husband's name, but said that he had forgotten to fill in his apartment number. The guy didn't speak English very well, but after she repeated herself a few times, he did eventually say his name and then told us an apartment number. Update. I'm currently writing this on my ride upstate. My husband, who is upstate visiting his mother until Saturday, has next to no cell service, so I haven't been able to talk to him about any of this other than saying that the email must have been a mix-up. My friend called and got his apartment number from the maintenance man. Both of us went over to the apartment and my friend knocked. A girl answered, but didn't answer the door, just the bell camera. My friend said that she was looking for Adam. The girl said that Adam wasn't there, but wouldn't give her more information than that, which I get. My friend was just a total stranger at the door. When we left, I could see her looking out of the apartment window at us. I tried to call my husband 1,000 times yesterday and nothing went through. The few times the call did pick up, the service was so bad you could barely hear anything. So I'm headed upstate to confront him in person. I have a copy of the email, as well as a photo of the apartment, as well as a recording of the girl saying that Adam wasn't there, which is confirmation to me that she knows him. If this is somehow all a big misunderstanding, I'm going to have my husband explain it to me in person, instead of waiting until he comes home. I haven't had a chance to read all the comments, but I will go through them now and try to respond to what I can. I haven't slept, so I hope this makes sense. Edit. To everyone telling me that I should just wait, not confront him, talk to her first, he's my husband. He's the father of my kids. If I'm going to find out that he's cheating on me, it's going to be from him. I'm going to say this for the last time. Please stop advising me not to talk to my husband about this very serious situation. I will talk to a lawyer if need be. However, we've been married for over a decade. We have a family and a life together. I'm going to go talk to him. I understand what the situation probably is. I understand that he's probably going to try to lie to me. I'm not a moron. Final update. I'm writing this from a hotel room. I went to confront my husband. He knew the minute my car pulled up what was going on. He came outside to meet me, and the first thing he said was, "Did you go to the apartment?" And I told him, yeah. So then he said, "So I guess we have to have a talk." And again, I said, yeah. I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. It was a long talk, and it involved a lot of emotions. She is his girlfriend. They've been together for 4 months. She's under the impression that we are separated and going through a divorce. His family wasn't aware of this. His brother and mother, who were there, were horrified. I'm sorry I don't have any more to say. I've already contacted a divorce lawyer, a therapist, and a financial advisor. Thanks to everyone for your support. Am I the jerk for saying, "This is exactly why she never told you about him," to my brother about his son? My nephew is 3 years old, and we only found out about him a few months ago. Obviously, the last few months have been rough on all of us, but especially my brother, who I think was in shock and denial for the longest time. One of the big reasons his ex didn't tell my brother about their son was because she didn't want him to grow up spoiled and entitled like most of my family. My parents also really hated her and did a lot to try and get my brother to dump her. Example, my dad had her fired from her grad job, and I think he was the reason she couldn't get another job in that field. So she was scared of how they'd react if they knew. My nephew turned 3 right around the time we found out, so we weren't able to celebrate, and his ex would only accept one small gift from my brother for him, so my family are belatedly celebrating his birthday, and they're going all out. My brother has bought more toys than one kid needs, and is talking about taking him to Disney, even though there's no way in heck his ex would let him take him abroad. Anyway, we were talking about the party yesterday, and I told my brother we should tone it down, and he shouldn't give his son that many gifts in one go because it'll upset his ex, and most likely overwhelm my nephew, whose life has already been flipped upside down. I think for my nephew's sake, it would be best if we could work with his ex, because we're all going to be connected forever now, so there's no point fighting or holding on to grudges. My brother disagreed and said he wouldn't let his ex dictate his relationship with his son. I was going to explain why fighting with her wouldn't be good for my nephew, but our cousins were all siding with him and upset with me for defending her. They think I'm only siding with her because she was one of my best friends and I'm trying to be friends with her again. I do want her as a friend, but that's besides the point. I was irritated because they were ganging up on me, and in the heat of the moment I said, "This is exactly why she never told you about him," to my brother. He didn't say anything, but my cousins really went in on me. My brother has barely spoken to me since, And for some reason, our family is now convinced I knew about my nephew all along when I absolutely didn't. My brother is also being so nasty to his ex now when he wasn't before, and I think it's because he's taking his anger at me out on her. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You spoke the truth. Your brother feeling entitled that his ex doesn't get any say in how he interacts with their kid sounds like precisely why she concealed that info from him. The very first opportunity he had, he showed that he would not respect her boundaries. I'm also guessing that him being a jerk who doesn't respect her wishes is related to why they are exes. Most people don't want to become single parents with no involvement or support from the other parent without any reason. I hope she files for full custody. I bet she already regrets telling him. I feel bad for her. I have a feeling she might not have told him, to be honest. Either it got out accidentally through flying monkeys, or it was something like OP's brother was stalking her account and saw one of her posts. Also, considering he's never been in the kid's life and his current behavior, I think a judge would have to be crazy in order to give him any form of custody. So it sounds like your family is pretty affluent, and the ex didn't care and just wanted to stay away. Yeah, I think the ex will be a wonderful mother, you a good aunt, your brother a less than ideal father, and your parents are grandparents from heck. You are the jerk. Nothing on your post explains why your brother is horrible. If what you say about your dad is true, then of course he sucks. However, your brother? What did he do to really deserve his ex not telling him that he was going to be a father? What your ex did is cruel to the kid. It's cruel to your brother. Denying both of them a relationship with each other is entitled. It reeks of only she knows best. My guess is she was afraid your family would use their money and influence to get custody, so she lied, even if by omission. Well, am I the jerk for refusing to do free labor for my family? My dad and my uncle own a bar/restaurant together. My dad is somewhat poor, and my uncle is a multimillionaire. When they first opened, they asked me to work for them since I just finished college in 2020. I said I would for a little while since lockdown was going on, and I was unsure how my career was going to work out during lockdown. I have an associate's in e-media tech and an MBA with a focus in marketing. So I handled management, cooking, cleaning, serving, event coordination, marketing, all kinds of stuff. Keep in mind, this isn't just some small bar. This one is a large venue and it has events, etc. They refused to give me any sort of decent pay. I was being paid $15 an hour to do everything I was doing. For serving and bartending, I was only making $6 an hour. I was feeling very underpaid and overworked. In the back of my mind, I understood that they just opened their business and money was tight. After working there for 3 years, nothing has changed for me. They couldn't even offer me any sort of benefits. Nothing. My first year working there, I only made $12,000, which was less than half of what I was making working full-time in college. I made efforts to quit multiple times, and my dad begged me to stay, offered me incentives and health insurance. I ended up staying, but nothing was done about my benefits or my pay raise. It seemed like they were just breadcrumbing me all along. I finally had left, and now I'm working a very good job as a chief marketing officer for a large company. I've been doing part-time contract work while I was at the bar. I'm being compensated extremely well, making a salary of $150 an hour. They provide me full benefits and they don't overwork me. My dad and uncle have been asking me lately to do some stuff for them, like adjust the website and graphic design, income, and do photos and videos for large events. However, they told me they aren't able to pay me, and my rich uncle managed to say to me, "You shouldn't expect stuff from your family like that." It really upsets me because I just get swept under the rug and treated like I have no value. Meanwhile, I'm working for a company that offers me all kinds of incentives, treats me well, and makes sure I'm always compensated for everything. Not only can they not offer me anything, but my uncle has overly high expectations of the work I do for him. Like nothing is ever good enough, and when he needs something, it has to be done immediately. At his house, he has workers like a chef, maids, and doesn't really do anything for himself, so I feel like I'm one of those workers to him. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Tell your uncle and your dad, "You shouldn't expect stuff from your family like that."